gaming gems don't fade away. They evolve into legends waiting for new players to discover them. Today we're highlighting some of the best third-person classics that defined gaming history while remaining absolutely playable in 2025. These groundbreaking titles created blueprints that developers still follow, offering experiences every gamer deserves to enjoy firsthand. So, without further ado, let's get started. Let's kick off this list with Gears of War 2. I'm telling ya, Gears 2 remains the pinnacle of cover shooter gameplay. This 2008 classic from Epic Games delivers that perfect mix of tactical positioning, aggressive firefights, precise controls, everything just clicks. The campaign follows Marcus Fenix going deeper into the Locust War, taking players through these massive environments that feel genuinely apocalyptic. The graphics still hold up surprisingly well this year, especially with the enhanced version on Xbox Game Pass. Those character models remain incredibly detailed, the environments feel properly lived in, then destroyed. Now the gameplay loop is so satisfying. Pop in and out of cover, chainsaw a grub, roadie run to the next position. That weightiness to movement makes every action feel consequential. The multiplayer servers technically exist, though finding matches takes forever these days. I don't think any modern game has captured that same sense of brotherhood between Delta Squad. Their interactions feel genuine, especially during those high-tension moments. Those set pieces, riding the Brumac, escaping the sinking city, create these unforgettable gaming moments. Playing Gears of War 2 today gives you the chance to experience one of gaming's most influential titles when third-person shooters really found their groove. Next up is Devil May Cry 4. This one introduced us to Nero, complete with his Devilbringer arm for yanking enemies close, then launching them skyward. The combat system feels incredibly deep, letting players string together these impossibly cool combos while maintaining that signature DMC style. I'm gonna recommend grabbing Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition instead of the original. The 2015 remaster added 3 extra playable characters: Virgil, Lady, Trish, each with totally unique playstyles. Plus, it runs at 60 frames per second with improved visuals, making those stylish combos look even smoother. Now, the game features this really interesting structure where you play as Nero for the first half, then retrace your steps as Dante with his more technical moveset. This creates 2 distinct gameplay experiences within the same campaign. The combat depth remains unmatched even by modern standards. Your performance gets graded after each encounter, pushing you to constantly improve your technique. Learning to time those perfect dodges, launches, then air combos creates this rhythm that feels almost like playing an instrument. Playing through Devil May Cry 4 this time gives both newcomers and veterans the definitive experience of this action classic. Those refined controls make executing complex maneuvers feel incredibly satisfying. Another one is Binary Domain. I gotta say, Binary Domain flew completely under the radar when it launched. This gem blends third-person shooting with voice command controls and a trust system that actually impacts how your squad responds to you. The setting, a flooded futuristic Tokyo where robots called Hollow Children infiltrate society, feels incredibly fresh even in 2025. Those enemy robots shatter realistically as you shoot different body parts, forcing you to adapt tactics mid-fight. Your relationship with squad members evolves based on performance and dialogue choices, creating this underlying social system that feels genuinely innovative. Some characters might ignore orders if they don't trust you enough, adding stakes to every interaction. The game mixes these bombastic action sequences with surprisingly thoughtful storytelling about artificial intelligence and humanity. That balance between philosophical themes and shooting robot heads off remains unique in the genre. Playing through Binary Domain today reveals a game that was honestly ahead of its time in terms of narrative sophistication. Those squad dynamics create emergent moments unlike anything else in third-person shooters. I'm telling you, grabbing this overlooked classic might be the best gaming decision you make this year, especially since it's regularly available for practically nothing during digital sales. This one is a longtime favorite, Ninja Gaiden II. Ninja Gaiden II stands as possibly the most intense action game ever created during its time. This masterclass in combat design throws waves of enemies at Master Ninja Ryu Hayabusa, forcing players to perfect split-second timing, positioning, weapon selection, creating fights that feel like violent puzzles needing solving. When everything clicks, you'll flow through enemies like water, dismembering limbs with brutal precision. Those obliteration techniques let you finish wounded enemies with spectacular animations, creating this rhythm of violence rarely matched elsewhere. The sheer challenge might intimidate newcomers, yet perseverance reveals one of gaming's most satisfying combat systems. Mastering each weapon type offers substantially different approaches to encounters. Players looking to experience this classic should know Ninja Gaiden II Black was released earlier this year as a total surprise to fans. This remastered version maintains that perfect combat while enhancing visuals, stabilizing frame rates, adding quality of life improvements. Level design occasionally frustrates with cheap enemy placement, though overcoming these challenges delivers genuine satisfaction. The original still delivers a perfectly valid experience for purists wanting that unaltered challenge. However, the remaster smooths rough edges without sacrificing the core experience that made the original legendary. Batman Arkham Asylum essentially created its own genre. Before Rocksteady's masterpiece arrived, superhero games were generally considered mediocre licensed products. Afterward, they became potential Game of the Year contenders. The way this game makes you feel like Batman through every aspect of design remains incredible. Those Predator sections where you're stalking enemies from gargoyles, watching fear spread among goons as their numbers dwindle, pure Batman fantasy fulfillment. The combat system introduced free flow, which countless games have since copied yet few have matched. Landing perfect counters while building massive combos feels just as rewarding today as it did at release. For those looking to play this time, check out the remastered Game of the Year edition. This version includes 4 additional challenge maps. These extras provide more opportunities to perfect your Dark Knight skills outside the main campaign. Now, the way Arkham itself becomes a character creates an atmosphere that newer, larger games sometimes lack. That tight focus design actually works in its favor compared to some modern open-world titles that spread content too thin across massive maps. Let's talk about Resident Evil 5, the forgotten middle child of the franchise that never got its fancy remake. Every other mainline game seems to have received the special treatment, yet this 2009 gem remains untouched. Playing through it again reminds me why that's such a shame. The co-op campaign with Chris and Sheva created some genuinely tense moments, especially when ammo runs low and you're forced to share resources. Those inventory management struggles is a pure survival horror gold. The African setting brought something fresh to the series, with scorching villages and underground facilities that still look impressive today. Sure, the controls feel a bit dated now. That inability to move while shooting definitely shows its age. Yet somehow that limitation adds to the panic when surrounded by Majini. The Mercenaries mode remains incredibly addictive, challenging you to chain combos for high scores. While the online co-op community has dwindled, playing split screen with a friend or tackling it solo provides 2 completely different experiences. This marks the perfect middle ground between the classic survival horror roots and the more action-oriented direction the series eventually took. So, Capcom, if you're listening, this deserves that remake treatment next. Next up is Bayonetta. Bayonetta still stands as one of gaming's most stylish action experiences. After so many years, Platinum Games Witch continues to defy gravity, expectations, and good taste in all the right ways. Jumping back into those heels in 2025 feels just as thrilling as it did at launch. Those combat mechanics remain unmatched, like the precision timing of Witch Time. Dodging at the last possible second to slow everything down creates this beautiful dance of destruction. Enemies telegraph their attacks just enough that failure feels like your mistake. That combat system influenced countless action games since, yet few have captured its perfect balance of accessibility and depth. The original version holds up remarkably well, though the Nintendo Switch Collection offers some welcome quality of life improvements if you're looking for the smoothest experience. Exploring those bizarre angelic realms still delivers visual spectacle, with environments shifting and transforming around you mid-combat. Those absolutely ridiculous cutscenes filled with impossible camera angles and physics-defying action sequences feel like they belong in their own category of entertainment. Few games commit so thoroughly to their absurd premise or execute it with such confidence. The difficulty curve might seem steep initially, yet learning to chain those combos together creates this wonderful flow state where you're practically performing rather than playing. Next on the list is God of War 3. Remember when Kratos was just an absolute rage machine? The original God of War 3 dropped in 2010, giving us possibly the most satisfying combat system of that console generation. Those chain blades felt incredible. So responsive, so violent, so perfect. The scale was insane too. Fighting titans while climbing across their bodies? That opening Poseidon sequence still holds up as one of gaming's most jaw-dropping moments. Sure, the 2018 God of War completely reinvented the franchise with its more mature storytelling plus that one-shot camera technique. Ragnarok expanded on that formula even further. Those games are masterpieces in their own right. The thing is, classic God of War delivers something totally different. Pure, unfiltered adrenaline with zero pretense. It's gaming at its most visceral. The combat system remains incredibly satisfying, letting you string together these beautiful, brutal combos against mythological creatures. Lucky for everyone, the remastered version runs at 60 frames per second on PlayStation 4 plus PlayStation 5, making everything feel extra smooth. The visuals still look impressive too, especially those massive set pieces plus boss fights. If you missed experiencing Kratos at his vengeful peak, this game deserves your attention right now. Sometimes, what gaming needs is less of dad feels and more godly dismemberment, right? Assassin's Creed Brotherhood represents this perfect middle point in the franchise's evolution. Released after the groundbreaking second game, Brotherhood refined everything without going overboard on new mechanics. Renaissance Rome creates this gorgeous playground for parkour plus assassination. The city feels alive, densely packed with secrets, viewpoints, plus historical landmarks that actually matter to the gameplay. Brotherhood introduced recruiting your own assassins, then sending them on missions across Europe while calling them for assists during your own adventures. That whistle followed by a hidden blade from nowhere is genuinely satisfying every single time. The multiplayer mode was revolutionary for its time. Hunting other players while trying to remain inconspicuous created this unique tension unlike anything else in gaming. This entry hits differently from modern Assassin's Creed games. No massive open world bloated with repetitive activities, no RPG mechanics or level gating. Just focused, refined stealth action with meaningful side content. I personally consider this the peak Ezio experience. The story continues directly from Assassin's Creed II, showing our favorite Renaissance assassin at the height of his abilities. For anyone tired of the newer formula that started with Origins, Brotherhood serves as a reminder of why people fell in love with this series initially. Pure assassination gameplay, no excess baggage. Next up, we have Dead Space 2. If you're looking for a horror experience that still holds up, Dead Space 2 remains absolutely terrifying even after all these years. The way Isaac Clarke's journey spirals into madness creates this psychological horror layer that few games have matched since. Those necromorphs still make me jump every single time. The controls feel surprisingly modern, and dismembering enemies with the plasma cutter never gets old. The atmosphere is just perfect, like those quiet moments walking through abandoned corridors before all hell breaks loose. Playing on PC gives you the best visual experience. Plus, if you're a Steam user who pre-ordered the Dead Space remake, then Dead Space 2 should be already in your library since this was a pre-order bonus deal. Xbox gamers can dive right in through backward compatibility on Series X and S. Sadly, PlayStation 5 owners are out of luck since it's still locked to the PS3. If you've only played the remake, you're missing out on arguably the best entry in the series. The single-player campaign hits that perfect 8 to 10 hour sweet spot. Trust me, this game deserves a spot in your library right now.
Looking for me, asshole? No more playing around.
Now, let's talk Splinter Cell Conviction. This stealth action gem still holds up amazingly well. I absolutely love how this game streamlined the Splinter Cell formula while keeping that core sneaky gameplay intact. The Mark and Execute feature feels so satisfying when you pull off those perfect multi-takedowns. You can grab this classic on PC or play it through backward compatibility on newer Xbox consoles. Sadly, PlayStation players are left in the dark on this one. The good news? A full-on Splinter Cell remake has been in development since 2021, though updates have been pretty scarce lately. The way Conviction lets you become a predator instead of just hiding in shadows changed the stealth genre forever. Also, the single-player campaign tells a really personal story for Sam Fisher, which gives everything higher stakes. For anyone who missed this when it first dropped, this year is actually the perfect time to experience it before the remake potentially arrives. The controls still feel responsive, the black and white stealth indicator remains genius, and that tension when you're trying to stay hidden never gets old. Up next, we have Darksiders. This game remains one of those hidden treasures that deserves way more recognition. This apocalyptic adventure starring War, one of the Four Horsemen, combines Zelda-style dungeons with God of War combat in such a brilliant way. These days, you're actually playing Darksiders War Mastered Edition, which polishes up the original 2010 release with better graphics and visuals while keeping the core gameplay intact. This enhanced version launched in 2016 and gives the game a fresh coat of paint without changing what made it special. The combat feels weighty and powerful, like you really feel like an unstoppable force as War. Those weapon upgrades throughout the journey keep everything feeling fresh. The environmental puzzles strike that perfect balance between challenging and satisfying. War Mastered Edition is available everywhere: PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch, so there's no excuse to miss this one. The way Darksiders blends different gameplay styles together creates something truly unique. And speaking of game styles, you'll absolutely love it during the epic scale boss battles. So, for anyone looking for a meaty adventure with personality to spare, Darksiders remains a must-play. Next up is Max Payne 3, a game that absolutely holds up in 2025. The noir-inspired storytelling mixed with those iconic bullet time sequences creates this perfect storm of action. I still get goosebumps thinking about diving through doorways in slow motion, dual-wielding pistols while glass shatters around you. The way Rockstar captured Max's internal struggle feels so raw, so genuine. His narration cuts deep as you progress through the neon-lit clubs and favelas of São Paulo. Those visuals still look impressive today. The lighting, character models, animations, all I can say is that they've aged like fine wine. Playing through Max Payne 3 now gives you this perfect self-contained experience. No need to worry about multiplayer or extra content because here, it's just all about you and a whole lot of bullets. The shooting mechanics feel responsive, weighty, and satisfying in ways few games have matched since. For anyone who missed this gem first time around, you're in for a treat. Trust me, this neo-noir third-person shooter adventure deserves a spot in your library right now.
Bayonetta was at least alive.
Coming in next is Tomb Raider. Not the 1996 Tomb Raider, but the 2013 reboot. Here we get a completely reinvented Lara Croft, giving us this vulnerable yet determined character fighting to survive. I love how this game balances cinematic moments with player agency. That opening sequence where she's trapped, injured, and scared, you will be hooked immediately on her journey. You'll go from narrowly escaping a crashing plane to quietly hunting deer in a peaceful forest. Revisiting this game today will give you the same vibe the first time you boot this game back when it was launched. The island of Yamatai still looks gorgeous. Moreover, the combat flows naturally with stealth, climbing, and puzzle solving. Nothing feels forced or tacked on. The foundation this game laid for action-adventure titles continues to influence games today. Lara's origin story remains powerful, emotional, and absolutely worth experiencing. For anyone looking to play it right now, you can grab the definitive edition on PlayStation or Xbox. It enhances everything with improved graphics and includes all DLC. For PC players, Steam offers the definitive Survivor trilogy, which packages all three games together, though only Shadow of the Tomb Raider has the full definitive treatment. And to complete this list, we have Yakuza 4, because I think this game deserves way more love than it gets. Released back in 2010, it shook things up by giving us 4 different protagonists to play as. Yeah, you can play all those 4 characters. That might sound overwhelming, yet it works perfectly because each character brings their own fighting style and storyline to the table. The game takes place in Kamurocho, this incredibly detailed recreation of Tokyo's red light district. I've spent hours just wandering around, hitting arcades, singing karaoke, going bowling. There's so much to do beyond the main story. Speaking of which, the narrative weaves together crime, betrayal, and honor in classic Yakuza fashion. You'll start laughing at some absurd side quest, then 5 minutes later find yourself completely invested in an emotional drama. That contrast really makes the experience special. For newcomers, this game holds up surprisingly well. The combat feels satisfying with its brutal heat actions, and the story remains one of the strongest in the series. Don't worry about playing older hardware either. There's a remastered version available on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation that smooths out the rough edges. Trust me, diving into Yakuza 4 now gives you a perfect glimpse into why this series has such dedicated fans. And that's the list of 15 legendary third-person games still worth playing this year. Thanks for watching all the way through. If you found a new game to try, hit that like button and subscribe for more recommendations.